Vicky Marie, long time no see. I'm back. Covering now, I'm going to be covering the Jay Slater inquest. And I have found it's being covered on the Manchester Evening News website. So I will be able to cover it live and we'll just see what happens. We'll take it as it comes. It'll have just started. Let me just, because some people will just be watching this and won't have seen the one before. Just say my thanks very quickly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for caring about Jay and his family as well, because this will be a difficult day for his family, of course. But anyway, as far as my channel's concerned, thank you for everything you do to support my channel. And particularly, thank you for caring about the victims that we talk about. Now, you know, what happened to Jay, you could technically say wasn't a victim of foul play, or that hasn't been officially found. But let's see what happens in the inquest today. So, yeah, Jay Slater. We're going to, we followed Jay's case, didn't we, last summer? Oh, when you think about it, how his family must be feeling today. So this time last year, in May last year, they had no idea how their world was going to be just torn apart that summer. Jay was going to go off on his first holiday with his friends. 19 years old, a boy with a bit of a checkered past, to say the least, but a boy who seemed to have turned his life around. He was an apprentice bricklayer, doing well. His employer spoke so highly of him. Everybody speaks highly of Jay. A very smiley, happy, go-lucky person. And off he went on this holiday to Tenerife, and unfortunately, he never came home. Well, he came home, but he came home in a body bag. Not as he should have been coming home, full of good memories. He went to a dance festival. We've seen pictures of him at that festival. He was having a great time. Thank goodness, at least he did have a good time. And then, for some unknown reason, he decided to go back after sort of a night of 3 days of raving, go back to an Airbnb up in the mountains. Maybe he didn't realise how far up in the mountains it was. And he disappeared, didn't he? Apparently left that Airbnb early in the morning. Remember, Ayub and Rocky were the guys that he'd gone back there with. They said he just decided he was going to go. He said he wanted to get some food. Off he went. He didn't know where he was going. He apparently asked about buses, but there wasn't a bus till later that morning. And off he set, it seems, to try and walk back to the beach. And did he try and take a shortcut instead of following the road? It's a very windy road, isn't it, Masca? And you could see, if you followed the videos that we looked at the time, it looked like you could take a direct route down to the beach. But of course, what Jay didn't know is they were all barrancas, ravines, very bad terrain. It was hot. He had no water. He didn't have the right shoes on for hiking. He phoned his friends in a panic to say he had no water, he was completely lost. He didn't know where he was. And then that's when he disappeared. And then he was found, but it was quite a long time after. And he was at the bottom of a ravine with traumatic injuries that the police say, the Guardia Civil say, are consistent with a fall. But of course, a lot of people aren't happy with that. A lot of people think that Jay died as a result of foul play, but no one's ever been arrested. The guys that had gone back to the Airbnb with were questioned and had to stay an extra day, but were then released and are now sort of on TikTok and, talking about the case. We've watched them talk on a couple of Anyway, the family seem to have accepted what's happened. So I just want to spare a thought for that family. They turning up at the inquest of their 19-year-old son this morning. You don't expect to do that, do you? And they're probably going to hear, whatever happens, some pretty grim details. They'll probably be glad to hear something in English, because of course, you know, my heart especially goes out to anyone whose loved one, you know, gets into difficulty or disappears in a foreign country. So not only you're having to cope with the fact your 19-year-old son has disappeared, and, you know, all the horrible things that were said online at the time about it, and then you're having to try and cope with a foreign language and a system that you don't understand, because it's not like the British system. The Guardia Civil are not like the British police. And it just must have been awful for them. I can't imagine anything worse, really. And then culminating with taking your son home in a body bag. And again, suffering from all the social media abuse that this family received, which is just disgusting. So they'll probably be glad in a way to be there at an inquest where they can actually understand what's going on, where it's in English and etc. So and hope they'll be hoping for some answers, and we'll see what happens after that. Will this just be like a rubber stamp on the Spanish inquest, or is anything different going to come out? We'll find out. So, hi lurkers. Thank you for being here and watching. Thank you to Replay Crew who'll be watching this on catch up. And of course, thank you to, actually, I think I'd already put my banner on. And thank you to those of you that are in the chat. I'm just going to come in and say a quick hello to everyone, and then we'll get on with this. Hey, totally random news. Hi, Blue Pella. Hi again. Long time no see. Hi, Mara. Hi, Annie. Hi, Mello. Hi, Emma from Wales. Hi, Heather. Yeah, thoughts with Jay's family today, Annie, aren't there? Because just must, it's like going through it all again. I mean, you never get over it, obviously, but you know, it's just like all coming up again. Hi, ACW. Hi, Angel. Hi, Daniel again. Oh, yeah, quite a lot of people. Hi, sheep farming. A lot of people in the chat. So I'll try my best to say hello to everyone, and then I might not be able to keep up with people coming in. Yeah, where's David? Don't worry, Emma, I'm on the case. I'm going to be reading it all out. Don't worry. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's go for Manchester Evening News. And we'll go to where they start their coverage. So at 10:17, the inquest to begin. The tragic circumstances surrounding the death of Jay Slater will be given in court today. And it really is a tragic case, this, whatever, you know, whether there was foul play, whether there wasn't. Personally, my own personal opinion, you probably all know, but you're all entitled to your opinion as long as you don't attack each other and you're respectful to the family. I personally think it was an accident. I think it was an accident. I think Jay was, you know, completely disorientated after 3 days of partying, and he's set off and just totally didn't know the area. They've just recently found somebody deceased in the same area. You know, I expect it's a regular thing, because those ravines, that terrain, it's treacherous, and you don't realize, you know, it looks okay when you first look at it, but when you walk up and you actually see. So anyway, we don't know. We'll see what the inquest. I don't know. That's just my own theory. I do think it was accidental death, but you know, we'll see what the coroner says, and then of course people will still have their own views, whatever. So an inquest is taking place at Preston Coroner's Court more than 10 months since the 19-year-old was found dead in a Tenerife ravine, and Jay had attended the NRG Music Festival in the south of the island last June. he travelled north to an Airbnb in the rural Parc de Tenno in the early hours of June the 17th, separate from his friends who were staying in Los Cristianos in the south. Having left the property on foot, Jay went missing for 4 weeks. That was 4 weeks. Goodness me. You know, the more you think about that, imagine if it was your loved one. 4 weeks of not knowing what had happened to them, and you've had to go out to a foreign country, try and grapple with everything going on, not knowing where your son is. And then 4 weeks later, you get that worst news of it all. And in the meantime, all those people online saying horrible things about Jay and you, and saying different things that might have happened to him. They were saying he'd been, you know, taken off as a sex slave, or he did drug things, and just terrible. Oh, and then Mark Williams Twunk going over there and making it all even worse, and he's still stirring it here and there, isn't he? Pretending that he knew more about things than he really did, you know, fueling the conspiracy theories. It just must be horrible to be in the centre of that kind of thing. So having left the property on foot, Jay went missing for 4 weeks before being found in the Juan Lopez ravine on July the 15th. And full details surrounding the tragedy will be given in court today, with the inquest expected to conclude this afternoon. Now, that was something that I said yesterday when we were looking sort of at this. Jay's inquest there's another inquest on at 2:00 this afternoon. So they're not expecting it to last, you know, it's only a morning inquest. So, you know, starts at 10, probably finishes at 1 for lunch, 3 hours maximum. So that's another reason why I don't see that this is going to really come up with anything new. But I could be wrong. But there's certainly, you know, whereas I remember Nicola Bulley's inquest, was set for 2 days, 2 full days were allocated for full days were allocated for Nicola Bulley's inquest. Now, the other thing is that we need to remember is where this inquest is taking place in Lancashire. This is the same coroner who dealt with the Nicola Bulley case, or the same coroner's office. We're going to see if it's Dr. Aidley is retiring this year, James Aidley, who dealt with Nicola's. But we'll find out in a minute if he's dealing with this one, because he doesn't retire until the 1st of June, or the new coroner doesn't take over to the 1st of June. So it may be Dr. Aidley that's dealing with this. This is also the coroners who dealt with Dylan Ramsey's case. So Rebecca Ramsey, who's been on our channel from Doing It for Dylan, like talking about water safety. She had a horrible experience during her son's inquest, 15-year-old boy that drowned. Mr. Aidley was not nice to her at all. So we're at the same coroner's office as those two things. So security in place. Oh, it is Dr. James Aidley. Oh my God. Do you know, this is what this guy, do you know what, we just don't, as somebody said yesterday, when he has his retirement party, will anyone actually turn up for this guy? He's just not a nice guy. What's he got security in place for? You know, anyway, he was like this with the Nicola Bulley case, or, you know, threatening people, or if anybody says anything, they'll be removed. And nobody said anything. People have respect, at least for victims. You know, who would cause trouble at Jay Slater's inquest? He loves the drama, James Aidley. He loves, you know, of course, he's a TV coroner as well, isn't he? He'll probably be doing more on the telly now that he's retiring. He's like the Mark Williams Thomas of the coroners. You know, he's like the Peter Falding of the coroners. Just likes the attention, just likes the publicity. Not really that interested in the victims, because he treated Becky, Dylan's mum, terribly. So that shows how much he cares about victims and victims' families. So probably the security that is requested is for him, because nobody likes him. So I expect the security is to protect himself. So Lancs Live reporter Amy Fenton is in attendance at Preston Coroner's Court for Jay's inquest. The county's senior coroner, James Aidley, has commissioned private security guards for today's case, likely due to the widespread interest in Jay's disappearance last year. They have been stationed at the court's main entrance and within the building. And Amy says it is a similar but smaller security presence as was seen for the inquest into Nicola Bulley's death. And that security is for him, not for anybody else, I reckon. I can't bear that man, actually. But anyway, never mind. So then at 10:23, the family arrived in court. Jay's loved ones entered the courtroom at Preston Coroner's Court. And Warren Slater, Jay's dad, was seen being interviewed. Was seen being interviewed by Channel 5 outside the building earlier this morning. And the channel has produced the cause of death documentary focused on cases investigated by Lancashire's senior coroner. Now, there's definitely some sort of documentary coming out soon about Jay. Now, whether Warren was interviewed by Channel 4 for that, or let's see if I can find, let's see. Wonder if I can find that interview with Jay. Oh, sorry, with Warren. Channel 5 interviews. You know, or is it something that they were doing for the upcoming documentary? Now, we don't know much really about what the family think of everything, do we? You know, at the end of the day, no, I can't see anything from today. Anyway, it might turn up later. It might not have been. They might be putting something together, and we'll look at that later. But yeah, we don't know. You know, we haven't heard much from the family. Haven't been demanding that the police investigate, as far as we know. So, as far as we know, the family, you know, go with the police narrative that he fell, and it was accidental. But anyway. You know, so that leaves us, you know, it leaves me as a YouTube creator. I can't go get, you know, what you have to go with the family that's left behind and that's suffering. You know, they're the ones that this is their real lives. You know, it's not a case on a YouTube channel. This is their real lives that they have to deal with every day, the loss of Jay. And so you have to respect their wishes. Shush. So, Dr. Aidley has worked as a coroner for 20 years. He's also a qualified barrister and medical surgeon, and he has ruled on some of the country's most high-profile inquests, including Nicola Bulley's. And look what a cock-up he made of that. So, yeah, he's due to retire next week, making this one of his final inquests. Let's have a little look at him, just if you don't know him and what he looks like. You know, anyone who's watched my channel regularly, you'll be familiar with him. So this is Dr. Aidley. This is, as they say, one of his last inquests before he retires on the 31st of May. And then a new coroner, a new senior coroner will be taking over. And yet he presided over Nikki's case, Nicola Bulley, and very strangely, a verdict of accidental death was found, even though there was no proof that Nikki had fallen into the river. Just as the problem with Nicola Bulley's case is there was really no evidence of anything. Was there not evidence? You know, there was the man in black, there was the screams heard, there's lots of things that could have have made it seem that there might have been foul play involved in Nicola's death. But again, no clear evidence. But just the same, there was no clear evidence that Nikki had fallen into the river accidentally. So in my opinion, and the opinion of many people, in any other, and we looked into other cases similar, they were all open verdicts. But due to pressure from the family, and then again, we have to respect the family pressed for accidental death verdict, and they got an accidental death verdict. And that probably made everything easier for the children, you know, for the insurance, etc. I don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, that was the verdict that was given: accidental death. Clear cut, not even a narrative verdict. It was just, if you look on the actual coroner's website, just says Nicola Bulley died an accidental death. No, you know, we looked into inquest verdicts. Sometimes they give a narrative verdict that they actually put on the official website, which will explain some, you know, a potted version of the circumstances. And then at the end, they'll say, oh, on the balance of probabilities, Nicola Bulley died an accidental death. But no, not with Nicola's. It's just Nicola Bulley died an accidental death. No narrative verdict whatsoever. And then, of course, there was Dylan Ramsey, who I was talking about. His mum was not happy with the way she was treated at his inquest. And Dylan, unfortunately, died as he was swimming in a quarry near his home, and he got into difficulties. And Becky still is not really happy with the official version of events. And then, of course, the one that we're talking about today is Jay Slater. So it's funny, isn't it? So really, when you think about it, it's quite coincidence that, isn't it? That sort of 3 cases that we know a lot about, 2 in particular, Jay and Nikki, that were, you know, international cases, really, having their inquest at the same place with the same coroner. Anyway, strange, but there you go. Okay, so then the inquest, what does it say? The inquest is about to start, with members of the press now sat inside the courtroom, and Amy Fenton will be providing updates. So that was 11:40, and then at 11:55, inquest begins. Now, of course, we're going to have to wait for the news to come in as it goes. And so while we're doing that, I think we should look at some of the videos. Now, I'm going to try and find my very first video that I did about Jay. It literally, it only just disappeared because it immediately attracted my attention for the simple reason, you know, he's from sort of my neck of the woods, and he reminded me, you know, young lad on his holiday there, just resonated with me. So let's have a look if I can see if I can find the very first video that we can watch while we're waiting for information to come in. Shh. Yeah. And his poor mother, you know, just personally, I just don't understand this thing with the mother. She's lost her son and people being nasty to her. I just can't imagine what she went through. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. You know, haters gonna hate, aren't they, as Taylor Swift says? But I just don't understand it. But anyway, right. I'm trying to find my playlist. Let's go right down to the very first one, see if I can find it. It's not in the playlist, I don't think, the first one. Right, let's have a look when he was 7. This one here, unless I can find the other one. Hang on. Because I didn't start off doing a playlist of it. I didn't realise it was going to come to, when I first started covering it, I did not know that it was going to come to such a massive case. It was just, it was of interest because it was a young northern British lad missing in Spain. And of course, I'm in Spain. So that is what, took my attention. Didn't know at the time that it was going to become a massive case. Wish I could find the very, very first one. Okay, I don't know if I can find the first one, but I've got this, which is from, where are we? Where's the first one? 27th of June. I don't think that was the first one, but anyway, let's have a look. So, Jay Slater discussion, the things that don't make sense. And I released this video, I think it was the 2nd of June. Anyway, let's have a look. Fast forward it a bit. With this shit show, where do we start? With poor Jay. I keep checking the news. I'm checking the news every 30 seconds because, I do feel like they're going to find him soon because they seem to be concentrating on this, concentrated area. I think I'm going to start with talking about the GoFundMe because this is the thing that's causing all the hassle. Do you know what I mean? It's like this is the thing that is really bugging people, which is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Because, if you haven't contributed to the GoFundMe, why would you be bothered, about the GoFundMe? It's not obligatory. Someone sets up a GoFundMe, whether we agree with it or not, or we think it's... So just looking to see, I just saw then what some people are saying in chat. There's another inquest starting at 2:00. So I'll find that. Right, I'll just watch this second. I'll find the actual listing. Whatever we think, if we're not giving money to it, what's it got to do with us? It's like me having a membership, or if somebody sends me a super sticker or buys me a coffee, that's their choice. What they do with their money, it's nothing to do with anybody else. How dare anyone really tell somebody else what to do with their money? At the end of the day, the woman, if it turns out, obviously that it's a great big, it's a big scam, but I don't think it is a scam. I think Jay is genuinely missing, and I think his mum is genuinely upset, and his dad, and everyone. But I do think they're not handling the GoFundMe very well, and I'll let. Oh yeah, that was
Thank you again for all your donations and support. This means the world to us.
Now, of course, as it gets into July, it being July. Another thing that people were saying at the time, I mean, if you remember all the lunacy, really, that was that, this was all a big scam, that he hadn't really gone missing, and his mum had set up the GoFundMe. It's just a way of getting money, but they said he was watching they said he was watching the England matches and the Euros, and the things that were said about this case were just ridiculous. And a big thing that people got annoyed at was the GoFundMe, because it did go to a high amount, didn't it? But, you know, anyway, as I say, I don't agree with GoFundMe's full stop, because they always cause problems. There's always a problem with GoFundMe's. But at the end of the day, someone sets up a GoFundMe, somebody chooses to put their money into the GoFundMe. That's their choice, nothing to do with anybody else. How dare people tell people what they should do with their own money? How dare they? Just makes me mad. I mean, it's nothing to do with anybody else.
July next week, so the flights will get more and more expensive. There won't be too bad perhaps at the moment, because schools haven't broken up yet. But once schools break up, the flights will get really...
So, yeah, let's just have a look at, you know, let's clear this up about the coroner's report, about the... where are we? So, Jay Slater, 10 o'clock, one day, says full hearing. But at 2 o'clock, oh, that's at a different place. That's at a different place. Yeah, sorry. No, that's my bad. That's my bad. That's at Blackburn Old Town Hall. So it's a completely different place. So a full day. Oh, my God. Well, I might be on live quite a long time then, mightn't I? Wasn't. I thought it was just the morning. Oh, well, I'll stay and report on it as long as I can. Ah, yeah, one day full hearing. Okay, fair enough. So one day, what witnesses are they gonna bring? I wonder. Let's see, has anything come up? Oh yeah, let's have a look. So going back, we've had the first report here on the Manchester Evening News. The friends cannot be located. Well, that's a bit odd, isn't it, in itself? So the coroner, Dr. Aidley, is explaining that Jay's friends who were with him in Tenerife, Lucy Law and Brad Hargreaves, cannot be located. The coroner said, "We can't find them. They have denied who they are, and we have had police looking for them, but we can't find them." Well, that's a big bombshell straight away, isn't it? What do they mean they can't find them? They were at the funeral. They have denied who they are. Oh, gosh, that's going to put the cat amongst the pigeons, isn't it? That is going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. Hi, Kristen. Hi. I'm sorry, I'm trying to say hello to people. Hi, Bertan. Hi, K311Y. Hi, Swin. So I'm going to put the Lancs Live one up at the same time so that we can flit in between them if the Lancs Live one is updating quicker. That's very odd, isn't it? Oh, well, so Lancs Live have got that as their headline. Friends can't be located. Well, what does he mean by they've denied who they are? And we have had police looking for them, but we can't find them. Oh my God. So the body was identified using a palm print, says Cheryl McGowan, Lancashire Constabulary's senior fingerprint expert. And she said she compared this with records held by the police, and she is confident that it's definitely a positive identification. Oh God, we don't want that. They're not going to start saying it's not him, are they? Oh my God. Oh, now we've got Home Office pathologist, Dr. Richard Shepherd. Now, Dr. Richard Shepherd has got very good reputation as a pathologist. Having said that, he's another one that's on the telly all the time. Do you know, I don't know if I really agree with this about coroners and pathologists and detectives, you know, being on the telly and stuff. You know, not because, is it appropriate? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. So what we've got so far is the friends can't be located. Lucy Law and Brad Hargreaves can't be located and have, according to Dr. Aidley, denied who they are, and they've had the police looking for them, but we can't find them. I just can't believe that. How can they not find them? Jay's body was identified using a palm print. That was the next bit. I'll just keep going over the things that have already come up until a new thing comes up. Cheryl McGowan, Lancashire Constabulary's senior fingerprint expert, said she compared this with records held by the police, and she's confident it's definitely a positive identification. And now, Dr. Richard Shepherd, who is a very well-known on the telly. I'm still absolutely staggered by the fact they couldn't find the two friends. What? I mean, how can you not find them? Just, how can you not find them? Now, the thing is, this inquest did just appear very suddenly on the inquest website. Now, it could be, you know, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. You always have to look at the other side of things. Could be that Brad and Lucy were away, because I don't know about anybody else, but this inquest has only just popped up on the website. Hasn't been planned for months. You know, it's literally just popped up on the website. So it could be that they're away. So we have to think about that. Now, where am I? Oh my God, it's totally bamboozled. I just can't believe you wouldn't turn up at your friend's inquest, you know? So let's hear what Dr. Shepherd has got to say. So he says there were extensive changes due to decomposition. It's awful to think about. I mean, it must have been awful because he'd been there, don't forget, so he'd been there for 4 weeks, apparently. So his body would have been very heavily decomposed. And like they're saying, during to that period of time, he was lying in a hot environment. It wasn't always hot either. So the thing about that, high up in the mountains like that, sometimes it's freezing cold, it'd be hot, there'd be animals, you know, there'd be insects. You know, it's just horrible to think about. So 4 weeks is a long time in that kind of environment. Sometimes it was really windy. You know, it had every sort of weather condition, didn't it, over 4 weeks. Poor Jay. I just hope that whatever happened to him, it happened really quick. Like, so if he did fall, you know, that he didn't know anything about it, or if he, you know, if he was pushed or if whatever, I just hope he didn't know anything about it, because, you know, when this all first happened, I was really convinced that they would find him. I thought he may have fallen and, you know, broken his ankle or be stuck somewhere, be lost somewhere. But I really hoped, probably for the first, I don't know, 3 to 5 days, I was, you know, optimistic that he may be found alive. But then, of course, every day that went after that got more and more unlikely that he would be found alive. I just hope he, and then you get this, is he lying somewhere, not able to call for help. So I hope that wasn't the case. I hope that it was sudden for Jay and he didn't suffer. Yeah. I still can't believe the friends haven't turned up. Right, I'm going to have a little look for Richard Shepherd, show you a photo of him. You may have seen him on the telly. He's on a lot of these forensic crime programs. Let me just have a look, just show you this. So this is Richard Shepherd, pathologist. I have seen him on the telly many times. Have a look at his images. Which I'm not really sure about. I mean, once they retire, maybe they could go on and talk about cases or whatever. Look, he's doing theatre tours and everything. It just seems a bit inappropriate, doesn't it? For someone who's still a practicing for a pathologist. As I say, yeah, once you retire and you're going around and doing your talks or talking about cases, but when you're actually still working, makes me think, you know what, you wouldn't want him dealing with your loved one's case or your case, because you didn't know if you might end up on the telly, people talking about. I would hate that. You'd hate to have your death discussed, your autopsy discussed or your loved ones. So yeah, anyway, he's got a good reputation, but is it just because he's famous? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let's go back to Lank's live. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so he talked about the condition of Jay's body and said there were extensive changes due to decomposition, and there were changes due to the period of time he was lying on in a hot environment, and changes he would expect to see in that period of 28 days or thereabouts. And he then went on to say that Jay suffered several injuries, but that to the head is by far the most important one in understanding why Jay died. Dr. Shepherd explained that this involved the application of considerable force. And he said the pattern of injuries is entirely consistent with a heavy fall from a height. So that's what he says, which is exactly, of course, what the Spanish police said. He suffered several injuries. I'll just repeat it for people, but that to the head is by far the most important one in understanding why Jay died. And Dr. Shepherd explained that this involved the application of considerable force and that the pattern of injuries entirely consistent with a heavy fall from heights. So that's what he's saying. Yeah, what do you think? Let me know what you think. I know that people are going to say that it was head injuries, it could have been caused by something else, but they can normally tell, can't they, the difference between blunt force trauma, in the sense of somebody being hit over the head, for example, and somebody falling. I mean, at the end of the day, one thing I've realised ever since the Nicola Bulley case is forensic science is open to interpretation, isn't it? Sometimes it's clear and sometimes it isn't. But, sometimes it does depend on the pathologist and their interpretation. I mean, look at Stuart Lubbock that we looked at recently, the poor young lad, the guy who died in Michael Barrymore's pool. The very first inquest said he died of drowning. And then later on, it was found that he had all these injuries, and that at a second autopsy. So it's not 100%, is it? Nothing's 100% certain. They give their findings. He's got these terrible head injuries, and he's saying, and of course the Guardia did say as well, the Spanish people said it was consistent with a fall from a great height as opposed to blunt force trauma. So I don't know. Hi, Alana. But just to let people know who might have missed the beginning of this, the very key thing that came out right at the beginning was that I still can't quite believe it. Let's just have a little recap, because we have to wait for the next news to come through. The very first thing so this is being heard by Dr. Aidley, the same coroner who did Nicola Bulley's case. He's retiring on the 31st of May, which is literally a week on Friday. A week on Saturday. So he'll probably retire on the Friday, the 30th of May. And the very first thing he said was that Jay's friends who were with him in Tenerife, Lucy Law and Brad Hargreaves, can't be located. And he says they have denied who they are. That's significant as well. So he's not just saying they can't find them. He says they have denied who they are. And we have had police looking for them, but we can't find them. But just to remind people of that, and new people coming in who might not know that, then it told us that his body was identified using a palm print. And it's definitely a positive identification. Then the pathologist said, just recap what he said first of all. He said there are extensive changes due to decomposition, changes due to the period of time he was lying in a hot environment, and these changes were expected. He said he suffered several injuries, but that to the head is the far most important one in understanding why he died. And he said he explained that this involved the application of considerable force, and it was consistent with a heavy fall from height. So he's now gone into the details of the head injury. The head injury which he suffered would have had an immediate and devastating effect. And he says the injury is so severe that I have no doubt at all he would have been rendered immediately unconscious. Now, I just hope he didn't come round. I hope to God, I know it sounds awful, but I hope that boy did not come round, that he never realised he was lying there waiting, for help, and that never came. So I hope to God that was it. Not only was rendered unconscious, but that he passed from this earth before he realised, because the thought of him lying there, I'm sure that's what goes through his mum's head all the time. The thought of him lying there and, maybe or maybe unable to shout for help, or shouting for help and nobody could hear him, is awful. Anyway, I'm going to light a candle for Jay before I carry on, because poor guy, poor Jay. And you know what? Whatever people think, at the end of the day, if this could be any teenager, maybe not dying in a ravine in Tenerife, but we talked about this a lot when we were going over the Jay Slater case. This is a difficult age for teenagers. They think they're invincible. They take risks. They do things that they shouldn't do. They don't realise consequences. Everything seems like a good idea at the time. You probably, same as me, when I was a teenager, I've done things that I think sometimes I don't even know how I lived through it, because, you walk home like on your own late at night, early hours of the morning. You take lifts from people you don't know. You get in cars with people who've been drinking. You do all the things that you do when you're young like that you go out and maybe take drugs or drink too much, drink till you fall over. You take these risks. You don't even think you're taking risks. You're just doing what young people do. So there, but for the grace of God, at the end of the day, there, but for the grace of God, goes us or our children, our grandchildren, our brothers, sisters, etc. So a little candle for Jay and also for his family. Just must be horrible. I wonder what they think about the friends not turning up. I'm just thinking about my son's friends. You know, he's got some really close friends at the moment that he's going out with a lot, and they're all getting on really well, and it's great. And you're just imagining if something happened to him, God forbid, or if something happened to them. Imagine my son not turning up at, well, they did go to the funeral, obviously, but not being around at the inquest and denying who they are. I mean, if that's true, it's terrible, isn't it? Terrible. Okay, so he went on to say, so we're going through the injuries that Jay suffered. We've got this Dr. Shepherd, who's a TV, I mean, you know, although he's supposedly a very respected forensic pathologist, he is one of these that's on TV, on these programs on the telly. So just like James Aidley, should they really be making a career out of what they do? You know, in these serious jobs like this, or should they not at least wait till they retire? So now Mr. Aidley's retiring, you know, and then go and do your TV career or whatever. But should they really have TV careers when they're actually doing serious jobs like this? They're dealing with families and victims, and, you know, is it not disrespectful? I don't know. Let me know what you think. So he added that even if Jay had been admitted to a specialist neurosurgical unit, the head injury was so serious, it's highly unlikely he could have survived. He said the injury is so severe that death was either instantaneous or extremely quick. I hope, you know, God, I hope it was quick. I hope it was instantaneous. And I just think this would be very difficult for Jay's family to listen to. So the pathologist provided a cause of death as head injury. A CT scan showed there was a severe fracture of the head. The Spanish authorities also concluded that the cause of Jay's death was a severe traumatic brain injury. Bless him. So it sounds as if that even if he would have been rescued or found, it took them 4 weeks to find him, even if he would have been found, you know, the next day or later that day, or, yeah, because it was in the morning, wasn't it? Even if he would have been found that same day, it sounds like, you know, he wouldn't have survived, or maybe he would have survived with traumatic brain injury, which, you know, wouldn't be very nice either. So I hope that'll be a sort of some reassurance to his family, because, you know, I think his family, they're going to feel, everybody's going to feel guilty. Well, obviously, apart from his friends, it seems, because they've disappeared and are denying who they are. But, you know, you would feel guilty that maybe you didn't find him quickly enough. You know, this... just the thoughts of what goes through this poor family, what they went through, you know, and they were certain, the dad Warren was out there with his brother Zach, you know, and they were traipsing. It was hot. It was hot. It was, you know, it's we watched together, didn't we? Some of the videos that Warren put on about the terrain, etc. And that idiot down the rapids, he put a lot of videos on about the terrain, which was great because it gave us an insight into the terrain. But of course, then he copyright struck me for using 3 minutes, I think it was, of one of his videos showing the terrain. So that's, you know, how nice he is. But, you know, he's a very strange person. We found that out since. You know, we did see the terrain, and also We saw a lot of videos from walking, because believe it or not, people do go there for pleasure. I have no idea why. And watching the way that they negotiate some of the terrain there is ridiculous. Okay, now this is not really a surprise, is it? Jay had drugs in his system. I don't think that's a surprise. He'd been on a 3-day rave. It seems obvious that he would have drugs in his system. So toxicologist Dr. Stephanie Martin tells the inquest that although tests when on someone who has been dead for some time are extremely challenging, she did determine that Jay had ecstasy in his system at the time of his death. Also present was a cocaine metabolite, which is present when cocaine is taken at the same time as the consumption of alcohol. Now, no disrespect to Jay. He won't be the only young person that's out there at a rave taking ecstasy or cocaine or alcohol or all three. So I don't think that is a mystery, a surprise. But I do think it is like maybe thing is that I think to understand how Jay was that morning, because a lot of people, why did he go back to the Airbnb? Why did he decide to walk? Why didn't he get the bus? All those things. Jay was not in a normal state of mind. He'd been partying for days. So I think it's important. I've got a young son. I know I've seen this. I've done it when I was younger, when I was a teenager, not cocaine and stuff like that. We couldn't afford anything like that, but we didn't really have that. Don't forget, I was sort of young in the Stone Age, and it was just alcohol really for us. It wasn't really much else. But the things that you do when you're young, someone who's older, you can't put your head into that person. You can't think, why did he do that? He did it because he's young. Young people, when they're on raves in Tenerife, there'll be loads of people doing that day in, day out, but not everybody ends up dying because of it. It was just like a conspiracy. I don't mean like a combination of circumstances that led to Jay's death, in my opinion. But of course, other people will have other opinions. Doesn't surprise me at all that he had drugs in his system. In fact, I would have been surprised if he didn't have drugs in his system. And believe me, if you think your son or daughter or it doesn't take drugs when they go out and they're a teenager, you think, oh, my son wouldn't do that or my daughter wouldn't do that. You have no idea what your son or daughter gets up to. It's not always the friends that are the bad influence. This is what young people do. You can never say that they do, that just because you didn't think they did doesn't mean to say they don't do it. They don't tell their parents everything, do they? They're not going to go home and say, oh, I took some cocaine tonight. Well, most don't. Some do. But, sometimes teenagers and that, they tell you more than you really want to know. You think, oh, I wish you hadn't told me that. But it's always better when they tell you than if they don't tell you, of course. But there'll be loads of parents out there who would say, oh, my kids would never do that. But you just don't know. You literally do not know. Anyway, so this Dr. Martin went on to say, it's impossible to say exactly when Jay took the drugs, but is likely to have been within a day or so of his death. Now, we saw the video of him dancing at the energy concert thing, at the rave. He'd definitely been taking something. He was totally, even his mum, Debbie, said that. She said she'd never seen him like that. Well, she won't see him like that. He was on holiday with his friends. And, you don't get to see, they're not going to be like that with you, are they? That's just, anyway. So apparently the Spanish authorities also carried out their own toxicology tests, and Dr. Martin said, the only difference between our results and their results is that they found ketamine and its metabolites. So they probably did their tests earlier than the British toxicology tests. So maybe there was more still in there, you know, more to find. So while we're just waiting for the next one, let's have a look at the video of Jay. We've got a couple of videos of Jay at that festival. You can see I love watching this video actually, because he looks like he's really having a good time. They're all sunburned, you know, they've all got no shirts on. I bet they were all burnt to hell. But, you know, again, when you're young, you don't think about sunburn, do you? Let's just see that one. Again, I did that years ago. Go off on holiday, you're out in the sun, don't think about getting sunburnt, just having a good time. And Jay definitely, you know, he had a good time. I've got another video of him dancing somewhere. But you can see, you know, he's under the influence of more than one thing, probably, and that's been confirmed by the toxicology results. Bless him. I still can't believe it. His friends can't be found. No, they're supposed to be his best friends. Weren't him and Brad like inseparable? I think they might have gone away or something and they've been thrown. You know, I'm trying to think the best of people. You know, this inquest was suddenly sort of inserted. It hasn't been planned for months or anything. It's only appeared over the last week or so. So maybe they, you know, I don't know. But I think what's more surprising to me is Dr. Aidley saying they denied who they were. Why would they deny who they were? Anyway, I don't know. Strange. This is just going to cause more... this is just going to cause more sort of problems, isn't it? More talk on social media. So then Dr. Martin says, this is what I said, one possible explanation for why the Spanish authorities found ketamine in Jay's system, but toxicology tests out in the UK did not, is the time between the post-mortem investigations. Well, that seems likely, doesn't it? You know, there was quite a gap of time between the two post-mortems. So the Spanish one was the first one, so you can see, you know, you can see you can see that, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you can see that that's likely, that the results might differ slightly, because by the time the UK toxicologist got hold of Jay's remains, that there may have been a change, that some things might have, I mean, I don't know, what do they do, evaporate in the body or whatever? I just don't know. So yeah, so only slight differences anyway in between. I mean, you know, the big, just recap for people that might be just coming in. If I recap right from the beginning, from what we've already talked about, the first thing the coroner said, and it is Dr. Aidley, the same coroner who dealt with the Nicola Bulley case, and also Dylan Ramsey's case, said that Jay's two friends that he went to Tenerife with could not be located, and had denied who they were. So we just have a recap right from the beginning. Yeah, friends can't be located. Oh, and also just to say, Dr. Radley had requested security at this inquest. Anyway, the body was identified using a palm print, according to Cheryl McGowan, Lancashire Constabulary's senior fingerprint expert. Then Richard Shepherd, the pathologist, spoke up to give evidence and said there was a lot of decomposition, but what he would expect for 28 days of lying in that environment. He said he suffered several injuries, but the one to the head was the most important one in understanding why Jay died. And Dr. Shepherd said that his head injury, Jay's head injury, involved the application of considerable force. And he said the pattern of injuries is entirely consistent with a heavy fall from height. He went into a little bit more detail of the head injury. He said it would have had an immediate and devastating effect. And it was so severe, he would have been rendered immediately unconscious. And he said that even if Jay had been found and admitted to a specialist neurosurgical unit, the head injury was so serious, it was highly unlikely he could have survived. He said the injury was so severe that death was either instantaneous or extremely quick. And he provided the cause of death as head injury. A CT scan showed there was a severe fracture of the head, and the Spanish authorities concluded that the cause of Jay's death was a severe traumatic brain injury. And no surprise, as we were saying, Jay had drugs in his system, and the toxicologist, Dr. Stephanie Martin, said that although testing someone who'd been dead for some time is challenging, she determined that he had ecstasy in his system at the time of his death, and also present was a cocaine metabolite, which is present when cocaine is taken at the same time as consumption of alcohol. So he'd been having a little bit of everything, and that's probably, part of the course when someone goes to a rave, a young person goes to a festival, dance festival. So Dr. Martin says it's impossible to say exactly when he took the drugs, but it's likely within a day or so of his death. Spanish authorities also found drugs, but the only difference between the Spanish results and the British results was that the Spanish found ketamine and its metabolites. And so the ketamine found suggests, and then she said that the reason that the Spanish toxicology reports were slightly different, a possible explanation was the time in between the two post-mortem investigations. And then she said that while the evidence suggests that ecstasy had been used within a day or so before Jay's death, she said, ketamine had been used over a much longer period. So as ecstasy goes with the festival, the dancing and everything. Now, someone out there in the chat is going to have to illuminate me here. I don't understand drugs at all. It's just not. I know a bit about marijuana and that, but I don't know anything about ketamine, let's say. I'm quite an expert on marijuana, actually, for a whole different reason. But ketamine, what would that mean? If she says ketamine has been used over a much longer period, is that he's been taking cocaine over a longer period? What would the ketamine have been in? Oh, look, we've got a link here to more on the missing witnesses. Right, let's go to this. So the coroner's officer, Alice Swarbrick, has been asked to give evidence to describe the extensive attempts she went to in order to track down witnesses, including Ayub Kazim, who had rented the Airbnb Jay went back to after the NRG Music Festival. So the inquest has heard that, you know, I just can't get my head around this. He's been all over bloody TikTok and everything. He's been all over YouTube. How can they not find him? So the inquest has heard that the coroner has had the Met Police out looking for Ayub Kazim, but they've been unable to locate him. And what do you make of that? So it's not only the two, like, what's her name, Lucy, Brad, and now Ayub, all gone, all, you know, disappeared without a trace. Can't be found to come to the inquest. Are they all abroad? What? How odd. Just how odd. And why have they got the coroner's officer saying that? Why haven't they got the police there testifying to that? Let's have a look at this. Oh, just strange, isn't it? God. Let's have a look at this. I think that link it's sending us to is just really more of the same. Here you go. So getting to it now. So that's why Lucy can't be I'm not sharing. Is this why Lucy can't be found? Because she's in Tenerife. Hi, David. Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, RAP. So Julie says, RIP Jay. With all the drugs in his system and the dehydration, no wonder he wasn't thinking straight. That's it. I think 100% he wasn't thinking straight, was he? Bless him. So let me just go back to where we were there about Lucy. So the police attempted to serve a witness summons. Oh, God, I've got to go back to this tab. The police attempted to serve a witness summons on Lucy Law, one of two friends who travelled to Tenerife with Jay, but were unable to locate her. Miss Swarbrick says it's understood she is currently in Tenerife. Now, it's important to remember as well, this inquest has, you know, was not even on the list of inquests. So, you know, if they've just, it's not like, I'm just trying to, as I say, play devil's advocate. You know, you can't just suddenly turn around to someone, like say somebody's, you know, the police tried to, said, oh, we've got an inquest on Monday, just out of the blue, and you already had a holiday planned, or maybe you were already away. So we've got to think about that. So that's an update on that. I also don't really understand why Miss Swarbrick is saying this. I think the police should be giving evidence to say this, don't you? Or am I just, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, are all in Tenerife filming for the documentary? Pam says, possibly. Yeah, they should be made to attend. They should be made to attend. No, I think you've got to find, first of all, hi Matt, we've got, you know, why aren't they there? Why aren't they there? What are the reasons? You know, is it just because, you know, I don't know why they're not there. I would imagine The thing is, it wouldn't, listen, you know, people are saying, oh, well, that shows that they're suspicious, but what difference would it make? They'd just be there, they'd just say whatever they were saying. It's only what they've already said to the police anyway. It's only an inquest. You know, it's not a court appearance. It's not a murder trial. It's an inquest. So, you know, I don't think that they would avoid being there for a nefarious reason. But, you know, and to me, it just seems like suddenly they're saying, right, the inquest, and how long have they been looking for them? So it makes it seem like they've been looking at them for ages, looking for them for ages, but maybe it's only been a day. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know. When was this inquest finally decided to go ahead? So, you know, I like to know the whole picture. You know, things sort of get said and it's like, oh, but we need to look into it more. Why they're not there? Why their reasons are that they're not there. So now we're finding out that Lucy is in, here we go. Here we go. Lucy's in Tenerife, and Bradley Hargreaves, who travelled to Tenerife with Jane Lucy, is also currently on holiday, which was booked last October. So that's it. Before you jump in, sometimes you've got to look into the background of things. If he booked a holiday last October and then gets called to the inquest, he might have already been in Tenerife. He's not going to come back just for the inquest, is he? As I say, it's not a court case. It's it's not a murder trial. It's not that kind of thing. He's on holiday. And I think what the coroner said right at the beginning, I'm more concerned with the other thing that they said. You know, the fact that they're not there, you know, I don't know. I'd wait to hear their reasons for why they're not there. But I'm just wondering what this is supposed to mean when he says... What was it he said? What did he say? Yeah, when he said they have denied who they are. That's more weird to me. The coroner said we can't find them. They have denied who they are. You know, that's a weird thing to say, don't you think? Like, what does he mean by that? And we have had the police looking for them, but we can't find them. And to be honest, I wouldn't trust anything that James Aidley said. You know, he'd be building up to his next TV programme. I just want to go back to this. There's the coroner's court. I wonder what Jay's family think listening to all this. Oh, there he is with his mum. So Bradley's on holiday in Tenerife, it turns out. So the next witness, Josh, so Josh has turned up, met Jay and his friends as they queued to board the plane from Manchester to Tenerife. Josh later shared contact details with Jay and met the group at the music festival. Josh said that Jay seemed dead happy and he was off his head on drugs. Well, you know, I expect Josh was as well, probably. That won't be nice for Jay's parents to hear, but it's probably true. They were probably all off their heads on drugs and drink. You know, they were at a festival. You know, it just seems likely, doesn't it? Yeah, but if they're abroad, Dixie, if they're actually abroad, how can the police can't find them, can they? Anyway, I don't know. I need to find out I need to find out the whole details. This inquest, as the ACW says, was it totally short notice? You imagine you're sat at home and you're expecting an inquest at some point, but you've heard nothing. And then suddenly people ring you, they'll try and find you, and it's next week or it's on Monday or whatever. You know, you almost feel like it's a bit deliberate, but you know, I think you've got to wait. You can't knee-jerk reactions are not good. And now we've already found out that Bradley now, he's on holiday that's been booked since last October, after Mr. Adeley insinuating that he was deliberately trying to avoid going to the inquest. But he's on holiday, and that holiday was booked in October. He didn't know the inquest was going to be today, did he? You know, maybe they should have contacted first the people that they wanted to go along to the inquest and say, you know, try and find out whether they would be back from holiday or what they were doing, instead of just sort of calling the inquest and not giving them a chance. Well, personally, no, I know, well, you've all got your thoughts, I know, but I've got my thoughts too. And I don't think for a minute that the reason Bradley's on holiday is to avoid going to the inquest. Just don't believe it. So, you know, other people can believe it, but not me. So, anyway, let's see if anything else has come up. So, Josh has just given his evidence. And he said, I'll just repeat it for anyone who might be coming in now. He met Jay and his friends as they queued to board the next plane from Manchester to Tenerife. Josh later shared contact details with Jay and met the group at a music festival. And he said that Jay seemed dead happy and he was off his head on drugs. And Josh, who said he had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots that night, said that Jay asked him to break an MDMA pill in half for him and Bradley. And MDMA is also known as ecstasy. Oh, I don't know. I know people take these things. I really just don't understand. I think I'm lucky that I was outside this drug culture in my generation, because the thought of taking a tablet and not knowing what it's really going to do to you, or why do you need to take a tablet, you know, and alcohol and other things, you know, in one just, you know, take the tablet or take the cocaine or take the alcohol, but why do you have to do all of it? You know, I don't know. The thought of to me, what would scare me about taking a tablet is once you've taken it for a start, there's nothing you can do, is it? Whereas if you're drinking, you have one drink, and oh, that feels quite nice. You get that warm, fuzzy feeling. You have another one, you get a little, you know, maybe you have 5 and you're absolutely wasted. But you can stop then and it will wear off. You know, to me, with drugs, you take that tablet, whatever it does to you, it's in your system. You can't make yourself throw up or, you know, do something to try and, you know, the one time that I tried a very strong marijuana many years ago, that a lad that I went out with made me take. Oh my God, it was the most terrifying feeling. I was just so out of control so instantly. God knows what was in that cigarette that he gave me to smoke, because it was, you know, it was strong. I mean, it was like, you know, I was so ill, but I was ill I thought I was going to die, because I was so dizzy. And it, you know, I just feel with alcohol, I feel in control of it, that once I feel like I've had enough, I'll just stop. But anyway, that's my opinion. I know a lot of people take recreational drugs and they're happy taking them and they have a good time with them and nothing bad happens, and great. You know, I'm just glad I don't. But anyway, because on top of that, on top of his half ecstasy tablet, he drunk, well, Josh had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots. Jay probably wouldn't have been far behind. And what else had he taken? You know, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot in one night. So it's a lot to have one night. Yes, yes, thank you, Annie. Yeah, please press like. It's free. Let me just put that up, actually. Have I got a like button? I haven't got just a like. Ah, yeah. Please leave your fingerprint on the like button. Now, any holiday destination is full of drugs. Anywhere, abroad especially. You know, where I live, it's not a holiday destination where I actually live in my little village, but not far away. And even in my little village, listen, we're having a young person. There are people that live in my village that are retired and what, and they probably think it's a lovely little sleepy village and nothing ever happens here. Whereas, you know, I get a different version of this village from number one son who knows there are drugs all over it. There's drugs everywhere, to be honest, these days. And then when you go into a holiday destination where there's all young people, dance festivals, etc., doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter where it is. In those sort of holiday places not far from here, drugs are rife. They're just rife. I don't know if that's ever going to change. I don't even know. And probably maybe the Guardia Civil, they will know that. They will know that. They'll turn a blind eye to a lot of it, as long as it doesn't cause them any problems. You know, people that are out on holiday, a lot of young people, the first thing they'll do when they get to the holiday destination is they start asking around other young people, where can I get drugs from? Because you can't take them on the plane, can you? You know, it'd be very dangerous to take them on the plane. So, you know, as soon as they land, they'll be looking around for where they can buy drugs from. That is a fact of life. You know, that is the way it is. It's not, you know, it's not a surprise, is it? Not a surprise to me, you know, having lived in Spain all these years. It's always a surprise to me when I find out things in like a little village or stuff like that, but not as far as the actual, you know, more holiday places where people go on holiday. It doesn't surprise me at all. You can get any drug you like easily. And, you know, it's sad really, isn't it, that, you know, people need that to enjoy themselves. Do you know what I mean? Right, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, that's funny. So nothing since 11:50, when Josh was saying about the 10 to 15 vodka shots, and that Jay asked him to break an MDMA pill in half for him and Bradley, which is ecstasy. There hasn't been an update. That's strange. Let's have a look at the Manchester Evening News. Yes, more or less the same. They're probably following the same Manchester Evening News, exactly the same. That's strange, isn't it? Because they've been giving some news out quite quickly, and then suddenly now it's all gone quiet. Well, we'll just keep waiting for the next thing. They can't have gone to lunch yet, surely. So we'll have a little recap while we're waiting for the next bit of news. So the important things that came out right from the beginning were that Mr. Aidley said that Lucy Law and Brad Hardgreaves cannot be located. And he said, we cannot find them. They've denied who they are, which is strange. But somebody in the chat was saying that that's like legal speak. I don't know. And we have had police looking for them, but we can't find them. Then they explained how Jay was identified, which was using a palm print. Then the pathologist spoke, and he talked about the decomposition to Jay's body that he said was typical for someone lying in that condition for 28 days or thereabouts. He said that Jay suffered several injuries, but the head injury was the important one in understanding why he died. And he said the pattern of injuries was consistent with a heavy fall from height. So don't forget, apart from the head injury, there will have been scrapes and bruises and things as he fell down the ravine. The head injury would have had an immediate and devastating effect, according to Dr. Shepherd. And he said the injury is so severe, he had no doubt at all he would have been rendered unconscious immediately. And he then went on to say that even if Jay had been admitted to a specialist neurosurgical unit, the head injury was so serious, it's highly unlikely he could have survived. So he said that his head injury was so severe that death was either instantaneous or extremely quick. And he provided the cause of death as a head injury. And a CT scan showed there was a severe fracture of the head. Bless that young lad, bless him. The Spanish authorities also concluded that the cause of Jay's death was a severe traumatic brain injury. And Jay had drugs in his system. He had ecstasy in his system when he died, and a cocaine metabolite, which is present when cocaine is taken at the same time as the consumption of alcohol. She said it was impossible to say exactly when he took the drugs, but was likely within a day or so of his death. The Spanish authorities also found drugs, and they actually found ketamine as well, and its metabolites, which the British toxicologist said that the possible explanation for that was the difference in time between the two postmortems, because she did not find the ketamine in Jay's system when she did the toxicology results, but of course it was a lot after. And that she said that the evidence suggested that ecstasy had been used within a day or so before Jay's death, and ketamine had been used over a much longer period. Then they went on to talk about how they'd been looking for the witnesses, extensive attempts made to track down witnesses. But sorry, I still think you've got to remember this would have been last minute attempts to find the witnesses. And they haven't been able to find Lucy. Well, Brad's on holiday. Lucy, I think, is in Tenerife. I'm not sure where Ayub is. But apparently the Met Police have been out looking for him, but they've been unable to locate him. You know, his friend Lucy apparently is currently in Tenerife. And Bradley, who travelled to Tenerife, is also currently on holiday. Doesn't say he's in Tenerife, which was booked last October. Then the next witness that they have been able to find is this Josh. Remember him from when we were talking about the case? And he only met them as they were queuing to board the plane. He shared contact details with them, and he met them at the music festival. And he said that Jay seemed dead happy and he was off his head on drugs. And Josh said he had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots that night, and that Jay asked him to break an ecstasy pill in half for him and Bradley. Right, now, remember oh my God, they're not going to bring Mark Williams Thomas as a witness, are they? So the inquest is now hearing about claims that Jay had stolen a Rolex watch worth £12,000 before his disappearance. And the inquest has heard that Jay sent a message to Josh in which he said, ended up getting thrown out with two Mali kids, just took an AP off somebody and was on the way to sell it. Okay, let's have a look at that message. So he said, apparently in the message to Josh, ended up getting thrown out with two Mali kids, which I presume is Ayub and Rocky. Just took an AP, expensive watch strap, off somebody and was on the way to sell it. Now, does that mean that Jay had just taken it off someone? Or is he saying that the two Mali kids? I wouldn't describe Ayub as a kid, would you? Or Rocky, but anyway. Just, don't forget he probably was completely off his head. I don't know. I think he'd met Ayub and Rocky before, hadn't he? I don't think it was the first time he'd met them. They'd seen each other around, at the what's the word I'm looking for? The resort. I think they had encountered each other before. So what do you think? Do you think they're saying there that he's saying there that he took the strap off somebody? Or is he saying, because he doesn't say I just took an AP expensive watch strap off somebody and was on the way to sell it. That's not a Rolex, is it? Or is it, this is so confusing, all this. Because, Mark Williams Thomas said it was a Rolex, didn't he? Right, I want to see what everybody's making of that. Hi, Melly. No, they can do that now, Melly. I looked it up at the time. They can regenerate. As long as there's some flesh left, they can't do it from complete bones. If it's just bones, they can't do it. But if there is any flesh left whatsoever, they can now make fingerprints, palm prints. There's technology has got to that stage, apparently. So. I notice I missed quite a few of you coming in. Sorry, I normally like to try and say hello to people, but it's just impossible. So, what do you think? So, do you think that message that apparently... God, I wish I was there at that inquest. It's much better if you're actually there, isn't it? And you can hear what's actually said. It's good that we're getting these... it's good to get the information coming through. Of course it is, but it can't, the best thing is obviously if you try and be there. I mean, but who could have been there? I didn't even know it was on until yesterday. So even if you wanted to go to it, you wouldn't have known. No, they did that on purpose, didn't they? They did that on purpose. So I just want to remind people we don't talk about other YouTubers on this channel. I'm afraid it's just a policy. So I'm going to just remove that comment. No offense, but please don't mention other YouTubers or social media creators. So we don't get into trouble, by saying good things or bad things about them. Their platforms are their own. So let's have another look. Let's have a look at the Manchester Evening News. So apparently, according to the Manchester Evening News, the coroner has called a short break as contact has reportedly been made with one of the witnesses who couldn't be located. So, hold the phone. So, I don't know which witness, the coroner has called a short break as contact has reportedly been made with one of the witnesses who couldn't be located. Who is it? And actually, another thing is, like they've mentioned Lucy, so it could be Lucy, it could be Brad, or it could be Ayub. Those are the three witnesses they've mentioned so far who couldn't be located. But what about Rocky? Was it because he was a witness? Wasn't he? But he was there at the Airbnb. He travelled with Jay back in the car, supposedly fell asleep, didn't he, in the car, according to Ayub. So wonder why he's not been called as a witness, or why they haven't mentioned him, or will he be appearing as a witness? So this is where we are now. A short break as contact has reportedly been made with one of the witnesses who couldn't be contacted. Oh my God, it's turning into a... Yeah, cup of tea. Make yourself a cup of tea. Get a cup of tea. Is that what Mark Williams Thomas is saying now, Annie? I haven't looked at Mark Williams. Where did he say that, Annie? Mark Williams Thomas whipped up most of the controversy. He did it for his own publicity and with the thought of maybe making a video about it in the future, making a program about it. Mark Williams Thomas cannot be trusted to tell the truth about anything. You know, the thing is, there's a difference between truth and opinions. You know, if you give your opinion, you know, I'll have my opinion, I'm not about anyone in particular, just people in general, they'll have their opinions. But when you deliberately lie, even though that's not what you think, but you say it because you think that'll cause the most effect. You know, when all this was happening with Jay, especially afterwards, you know, you could go on and on making up things as a YouTuber, as a social media creator. You could go on, I could put a video on tomorrow with the headline, I don't know, Jay in... I got a message from Jay when he was on the mountain or whatever. Do you know, you can say anything. The point I'm trying to make is, you can say anything, but that is deliberate lying, isn't it? That's deliberately whipping up things that aren't true. It's different if you say, oh, I think this might have happened, or you know, you're not lying then, you're just giving your view, your opinion. You know, at the end of the day, we all have our views on everything. Nobody's going to stop that. They can turn around and say, don't speculate about things, but you know, of course people are going to speculate, especially with things like this about Jay or Nicola Bulley. People are going to speculate, you know. Anyway, but when you deliberately lie, when you've got someone like Mark Williams Thomas who presents himself as some, you know, legitimate person, and he isn't. He's like, the more he's, you know, the more you look into him, and Peter Folding, he's another one. The more you look into him, the more they go down in your estimation. You start off thinking they're great, and oh yeah, and you listen to what they've got to say. So the thing is, I think the point I'm trying to make here is, you know, you can have different views to somebody, but you should not make things up. You know, you just shouldn't. You can't make things up. Terrible. Isn't it? Just for the sake of what? You know, and all the distress to the family. So they're on a break. They're on a break. So I don't know how long they're going to be on a break for. I suppose I'll do a little bit of a recap. Oh, yeah, so it says here, Jay Slater inquest dramatically halted as contact made with witness. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Annie, no, don't mention the channel because thank you though for that, because if I mention that channel, then it's like I should let all channels be mentioned. But was it his own podcast? Was it his own podcast, or would it be something like Lad Bible or whatever that he's always on? Actually, while we've got this break, I'll just have a look at Mark Williams Thomas' Instagram. See if he's. I've never heard him say thought it was all an accident, but I don't look out for things that he says because you can't believe him anyway. So is that like, so he whipped up all that, insinuating that there was so much more to everything. He was actually then, and do you remember Debbie, Jay's mum, called him out and said, if you've got something to say, just say it. Because he said, oh, I know this, but I can't say anything about. That's what Mark Williams Thomas always does, isn't it? I've got all this information that's exclusive to me, but I can't talk about it at the moment. That's Mark Williams Thomas. And Debbie, Jay's own mother, turned around and said, spit it out. If you've got information, say it. Don't keep it to yourself. And then he sort of went a bit quiet then, didn't he, about Jay Slater? He's not a nice person, is he, Mark? And listen, now I'm going to sound like him because I get a lot of information through emails as well that people contact me in private and tell me things about people. But I can't mention, I can't give my sources. But there's a lot of things that I've been told about Mark Williams Thomas, but I wouldn't repeat them because I can't, they're just what somebody else has said. I can't substantiate them. So, that's the way it is. Let's see what he's been up to. Oh, God, I can't get in. Oh, hang on. Yeah, blackmail was mentioned, put it that way. Likes a bit of blackmail, allegedly, of course. Now suddenly thinks it's all. Well, I thought it was an accident right from the beginning. And if you've been watching me, that's what I've always thought. But having said that, if I heard some evidence of anything else, I'm open to that. That's just my conclusion. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking through his Instagram at the moment. Seeing if I can find if he's said anything. So he says he's investigating between 5 and 8 major cases. Of course, he wouldn't investigate anything but a major case, would he? Because it's got to be. So he has given on his Instagram the case against Christian B. That's a whole nother thing, isn't it? What's this? Unsolved or suspicious cases, Thunderbirds, a one-stop solution. I'm not sharing his Instagram because I've come to the conclusion that Mark Williams Thomas, same as Peter Folding, doesn't care what attention they get as long as it's attention. So I just don't give him any attention anymore. Best thing to do is not even give him the time of day. Not even positive attention, negative attention. Right, somebody's saying on there that the Daily Mirror's giving good update. Yeah, let's look at some different updates. Expect the Daily Mail will be doing it as well. They'll all be doing it, won't they? Let's see. don't think there's anything on there that we haven't seen on the others. Just they're all going up to the same thing. Coroner has called a small break. A short break, as contact has reportedly been made with one of the witnesses who previously could not be located. So we're all, I mean, we may as well look at this one because it's just different. It's probably got different photos on it. Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, it's got photos on it, which are good. It's nice to see. I like to look at Jay smiling. He's a very smiley person. But I think the basic information is just the same. Right, let's go. So yeah, it just says how his the mirror jumps a lot. So there's Jay in his sunglasses. Just 19 when he went missing. He attempted to walk 10 hours back to the accommodation. And then, yeah, just saying about what Dr. Adley said, that Jay's friends could not be located. We can't find them, but one's been found or one is contacted. So Jay Slater's mum, Debbie, was left heartbroken after investigators confirmed her son had died while on holiday. In a touching Facebook post from Homemade with Love, Oswald Twistle, it emerged Debbie had been asked to make cushions out of his clothes. And the post read, "Forever 19, all of my work touches my heart." This wasn't Debbie. Do you know, it really does my head in when they get things wrong, these mainstream media. Debbie did not make the cushions. There's a lady in the area, and I know them because my relatives know this woman. I've used her and had things made. And this woman, you send, the clothes from maybe from your children when they were young or from your loved one who's deceased, and she makes teddies out of them or cushions, etc., out of the clothes that you send. They're lovely keepsakes. So this post, Debbie wasn't asked to make cushions out of his clothes. Debbie asked Homemade with Love in Oswald Twistle to make the things out of his clothes. And she made a post, the lady who made the things made a post, "Forever 19, all of my work touches my heart, but I must admit this one really touched me. I was honoured to be asked by Jay's mum to make these cushions using his favourite clothes, and I hope they bring comfort to each person receiving them. Each one had a personalised memory patch." And she added, "Thank you so much, Debbie, for entrusting me to make these for you. Sending so much love." Oh, God. So they were saying that Debbie... Anyway, I'm going to find that on Facebook to show you. I'll just check. I just checked that we've not had an update yet. I don't want to miss the update when we get one. So let's have a look at this thing on Facebook. What's it called? Homemade with Love. Let's see if I can find it. Of course, I won't be able to find it. Oh, no, I can't find it. Anyway, that's what happened. So, yeah, she sent some of Jay's clothes off to this place, and they made all little teddies and cushions and things. So, yeah, Jay's body was identified using a palm print. The pathologist, who's a TV pathologist, I just want to remind you of that. He's like Dr. Adley, he's on all these TV programs. He's a respected pathologist, Richard Shepherd, but he is a TV, he goes on these TV programs, which personally I think until they retire these people, they shouldn't be able to do that. I think there's not TV stars. They've got, serious jobs to do. And he confirmed that Jay suffered several injuries, but the head injury was the worst. And it was consistent with a heavy fall from height. Said it would have had an immediate and devastating effect. And that even if Jay had been admitted to a neurological unit, a specialist unit, the head injury was so serious, it was unlikely he could have survived. He had drugs in his system. But it was the head injury that was the cause of death. Said he had ecstasy in his system, cocaine and a cocaine metabolite, which is present when cocaine is taken at the same time as alcohol. Because this was the place, the ravine in Tenerife. It's very, you can see that it's very, very difficult terrain, has it? So we'll see. So the inquest has resumed, but no information yet come up, just that it has resumed. Let's have a look bit more at the mirror at some of the pictures. So yeah, the Spanish officials found drugs. They found a few more drugs because of course they did the autopsy earlier. They found ketamine as well. And then it went on to say about how the Met Police were looking for witnesses, including Ayub Kazim. Jay's friend Lucy Law is currently in Tenerife. Look, this is that Masca place. Who else did it talk about? Oh, Bradley Hargreaves is also on holiday, which he booked last October. Then Josh testified and said he'd met them in the queue onto the plane. He said that Jay seemed happy and off his head on drugs. He said he drank 10 to 15 vodka shots that night, and Jay asked him to break an ecstasy tablet for him and Bradley. And then we just got up to this bit where the claims that Jay had stolen a Rolex watch worth an estimated £12,000 before he went missing. And the inquest heard that Jay sent a message to Josh where he said, he didn't say ended up getting thrown out with 2 Marley kids, just took an AP off somebody and was on the way to sell it. And then, they called a break, but apparently it's resumed now, so we're going to see. Now, of course, there's always a possibility, just something that struck me. He says, I just took an AP off somebody and was on the way to sell it. It doesn't mean to say he took it as in he stole it, does it, of course? But anyway, it's a mystery. Right, let's go back to Lanx Live, who was showing, or was it the evening news? Yeah, so going back to the Manchester Evening News, Josh resumes his evidence and he says that Jay told him he would sell the watch strap for 10 quid, which he claims is slang for £10,000, not £10. What? He's not going to. Who's he going to sell it to for £10,000? Who's going to buy it for £10,000 off some kid who's off his head on drugs? Josh also tells the inquest that Jay sent him a picture showing knives down his trousers. Now, we don't know what was found with Jay yet. Maybe we'll get to find it out in this inquest. I hope so. because we've never been told, like, about Jay's personal effects. You know, did he have, was his mobile found? Like, for example, if he had knives on him, were they found? Was the watch strap found? Were drugs found? You know, what we don't know. And hopefully that's something that we will find out during the course of this inquest. What was actually found with Jay's body? What clothes was he wearing? You know? So let's hope that we'll get to find out that. So, yeah, I've swapped over again now to Lancashire Live, where it says about Josh saying that Jay told him he was going to sell the watch strap for 10 quid. Josh claims this is slang for 10,000, not 10. Don't know about that. Anyway, then he told the coroner that Jay sent him a picture showing knives down his trousers, but he admitted he did not inform Spanish police about this image. Well, you're not, you know, he's not going to, why would he contact the police? But anyway, after Josh returned home to the UK, he informed Lancashire police about the image Jay sent him, in which he apparently had knives concealed in his trousers. Now, I wonder if he still had that image, or is he just telling them about the image, or do you think he still had the image that he's shown the police? Maybe we'll find that out. Maybe we'll find that out. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened there. What's going on? Am I back? Am I back? Am I back in the room? Yeah, I'm back in the room. Right, good. God, it's chaos, isn't it? So, yeah, so there's a new thing that we found. So apparently not only told Josh he'd taken the watch strap, he said he was going to sell it for 10 quid, that Josh said is 10,000, not 10. Josh says that Jay sent him a picture showing knives down his trousers, but Josh did not tell the Spanish police about this image. I mean, the thing is, how would Josh do that? Because I presume doesn't speak Spanish. But after Josh returned home, he told Lancashire police about the image Jay sent him, which he apparently had knives concealed in his trousers. That's where we are so far. Oh, here's another one. So Josh says that the picture Jay sent him of 2 knives down his trousers was captioned, "In case it kicks off." Dear me. Oh, it's awful to think. This will be difficult for his family to hear that, you know, if it's true. Presumably the police saw the picture. I don't know. That'd be difficult for his family, won't it, to see that he had knives down his trousers. Hey, dear me. Sad, isn't it? Now, I've just got to take a short bathroom break. I'll try and be 9 seconds like Erin Patterson. Okay, I'm back. Was I 9 seconds? Or more? I think it was a little bit more than 9 seconds, probably. Okay, let's see. So, yeah, when Jay, according to Josh, when Jay sent him the picture of 2 knives down his trousers, he captioned it, "In case it kicks off." So then we come to the taxi plans. At around 7:30 a.m. on the day Jay disappeared, he video called his friend Bradley. Jay told Bradley Hargreaves he didn't have the money for a taxi, to which Bradley said, "Just get a taxi here and then jump out and don't pay for it, or we'll pay." Don't pay for it. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that seems like logical advice, isn't it? That's what you do with your friend. If your friend didn't have any money, you say, get in the taxi, just get here and we'll club together and we'll pay the taxi. And in this phone call, Jay still sounded under the influence, but was not distressed or begging for help or in danger. So this, I remember this. This was the first phone call, wasn't it? And then I think there was another phone call where he still wasn't in distress, when he was showing them that where he was and the rubble that was falling. Video call. Surely the police will have those videos still. But anyway, we'll find out, I suppose. And it was the last phone call that he made to Lucy, wasn't it? Apparently where he was distressed, saying that he had no money, no water left, his battery was going, he didn't know where he was. That, I think, was when he was getting panicked. And, I think that's exactly what happened. Jay went out there, he got lost, and he unfortunately fell to his death, which is, it was horrible. But anyway, so in that phone call, apparently, according to Josh, Jay still sounded under the influence, but he was not distressed or begging for help or in danger. And according to Josh, Jay sent that picture of knives that he mentioned earlier to Josh around 90 minutes before that phone call. So that phone call was at 7:30. So 90 minutes before that would be 6 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't it? When apparently Jay sent the picture of knives down his trousers. 90 minutes later, he rang Bradley and said he didn't have the money for a taxi, and which Bradley said, just get a taxi here and then jump out and either don't pay for it or we'll pay. Gosh, if only Jay would have done that. Just maybe he'd look for a taxi. I mean, would it be easy to get a taxi in the middle of nowhere like that? So let's see if the Evening News has got more. Yeah, no, Evening News exactly the same. So we're talking about a guy. Now, we'll find out if those knives were still in Jay's trousers when he was found, I presume. What happened to those knives? When Jay was found in that ravine, were those knives still down his trousers? And if not, where were they? But we'll find that out, I presume, as time goes on. So I wonder who the person they've located is. Are they going to give us some dramatic evidence? Are they going to appear at the inquest? Is the inquest going to be adjourned so that one of the people that apparently they said they couldn't trace, who apparently now has made contact, is one of those people going to dramatically appear at the inquest? Or is the inquest going to be adjourned so that they can give evidence? I mean, I definitely think this inquest was left till the last minute deliberately so that, one, people couldn't organise to go. People like me, social media people, couldn't, they didn't know about the inquest, so they couldn't go to the inquest because they didn't know about it. It's like this, it's definitely, it's all been last minute. All this time we've waited for this inquest for Jay Slater, and then suddenly it was all just done within a couple of days. Okay, evidence of slang. So Josh Forshaw, who has appeared via video link, has now, well, they could easily set up a video link, couldn't they, for somebody else? If they've, even in Tenerife, surely they can set up a video link. Anyway, he has now finished giving evidence. He concludes his evidence by saying, I hope that everybody is all right. The coroner has asked Josh to provide some evidence on social media to show that 10 quid is slang for 10,000. And Josh says, are you serious? And the coroner replies, I am absolutely serious. I want proof from somewhere that it is a common usage that it is £10,000. Now, I've never heard that, but you know what? I'm not a 19-year-old kid. So does any of you out there in the chat, can anybody confirm that? If somebody says 10 quid, do they mean 10,000? Josh has been given an hour to back this up. Oh my God. So Mr. Aidley's getting tough. He's got to back up his slang. Does anybody know that expression? Jay, not that Jay. I don't know that, do you? Anybody? Is there anybody who... So, hi Jay, not that Jay. Misty's saying 10,000, no way. Yeah, but does anybody, actually know that that is the slang that is used? Let's see. I mean, I've never heard that. Well, according to AI, which I'm not saying that means anything, but they say in slang, £10,000 can be referred to as 10 grand or 10 big ones. Grand is commonly used for £1,000 and big ones can refer to larger amounts of money. Of course, a lot of that's coming up is American things, though. I did say pounds. Tenner. I can't find anything on Google. But that doesn't mean to say it's not true. Well, so Mr. Aidley has challenged 10 quid is slang for 10 yeah. Mr. Aidley has challenged Josh to prove that £10 means £10,000. Nobody 10 yeah. Yeah. Nobody seems to have heard of that, but you know what? As I say, yeah, I Googled it. I can't find anything. Anyway, he's got to prove it. So the coroner is making him prove it. The coroner has said to him he is to provide evidence on social media to show that 10 quid is slang for £10,000. And Josh says, are you serious? And the coroner replies, I am absolutely serious. I want proof from somewhere that it is common usage that this is £10,000. And Josh has been given an hour to back this up. Oh my God, do you know what? One day this will be a Netflix documentary, won't it? Can you imagine it? It'd make a good this trial. Oh, trial, it's not even a trial. It's been so dramatic. It'd be, it'd definitely be on Netflix one day. Oh my God. So it just goes to show, because I was thinking, oh, this is just going to be a rubber stamp on what the Spanish police have said. And it is a little bit more than that, isn't it? So does that mean they're breaking for an hour or what? Oh my God. So poor Josh, he's got to go off and find some social media evidence to prove that. Let's look exactly what he said. So this is from what Josh said at 12:26. In fact, let's go back a little bit before that. So the inquest, we're going back to 11:59, when the inquest was hearing about claims Jay had stolen a Rolex watch worth £12,000 before his disappearance. And the inquest heard that Jay sent a message to Josh in which he said, ended up getting thrown out with 2 Marley kids, just took an AP expensive watch strap off somebody and was on the way to sell it. And then Josh went on to say, then of course, there was a dramatic break in the proceedings, as one of the contacts that had been previously said couldn't be contacted apparently has made contact. So are we going to hear from them later? So there was that break, and then after the break, Josh came in and said that Jay told him he was going to sell that watch strap for 10 quid, which Josh claims is slang for £10,000, not £10. I mean, that didn't make sense to me as I read it. Who's going to pay £10,000 for a watch strap, even if it is a designer one that maybe it normally costs 20,000, I don't know, but off some kid who's high as a kite on drugs, trying to sell just a watch strap? Who's going to just come up with £10,000 anyway? What, they're just going to have it in their pocket or in their, it doesn't make sense, does it? And then Josh went on to say, and as I said, I don't know if there's actually proof of this. Have the police seen this picture? Because Josh then told the coroner Jay had sent him a picture showing knives down his trousers. But we don't know if that picture actually exists or is Josh just saying it. We don't know whether the knives were found with Jay when his body was found. Josh admitted he didn't inform the Spanish police about it, which I think is pretty fair enough, really, because I don't see how he would be able to. But after he returned home to the UK, apparently he informed the Lancashire police about the image Jay sent him, in which he apparently had knives concealed in his trousers. But has anyone else seen that image except Josh? Anyway, he said that he sent him the picture and it was captioned, "In case it kicks off." And then apparently it's around 7:30, Jay called his friend Bradley, said he didn't have money for a taxi. Bradley said, just get a taxi and then jump out and don't pay for it or we'll pay. And this is Josh's testimony, though, don't forget. This is not Bradley's testimony. And in this phone call, Jay still sounded under the influence, but was not distressed or begging for help or in danger. And Jay sent the pictures of knives down his trousers to Josh around 90 minutes before that phone call. And then, this is the last thing, nothing else has come up since then. I don't know if there's anybody else giving evidence now. Have they had a break for lunch? But this Josh, he has finished giving his evidence and concludes his evidence by saying, I hope everyone is all right. And the coroner asks him to provide some evidence on social media to show that 10 quid is slang for £10,000. Josh says, are you serious? And the coroner replies, I am absolutely serious. I want proof from somewhere that it is a common usage that it is £10,000. And he gives Josh an hour to back it up. Let's see. As far as I know, that's the last thing we know. Yeah, we don't know. As far as I know, all the ones I've got open. Yeah. So what do we think of all this? Do we think it's £10,000 or £10? Night, Alana. Hi, Darren. Hi, Gaza. South London, we use it. So don't forget, Jay's from the north, though. So do they really? We need somebody who's from like Oswald Twistle, or from where Jay comes from, Accrington, that area. Would they? You might know. Yeah, everyone's confused by the money amount, aren't they? Everyone's confused because it did seem, I just think, and I don't know because who knows what goes on in these worlds. It couldn't be any further away from my world, but just thinking, surely nobody's going to have £10,000 anyway, just hang it, just around their person to buy a watch strap. And who's going to buy a watch strap off some kid who's off his head on alcohol and drugs on a, it does seem weird to me. But do you know what? Weird things happen in life, don't they? Weird things definitely happen in life. Now, gosh, are they having a lunch break or what? I wish if they were having a lunch break, I wish they would say they're having a lunch break because then I would have a lunch break. But I feel like, it's so dramatic. This field can't leave it for a minute. I've got classes later as well, but and I haven't had any lunch. I bet they're having lunch now, but I wish they would just say they were having lunch. Now, there's a lot of you on here, and I don't want to pause the live, really, go for a break because, a lot of you can see there's a lot of people interested in this, but I'm trying to. Pay means 10,000. I'm trying to, if they've gone for a lunch break, I wish they would just say, and then we'd break it off and come back after lunch. This is so. Let's have just a recap while we're waiting to see if they're going to come on and say they've broke for lunch. These dramatic things that have happened. It's very dramatic. It opened dramatically, didn't it? With the coroner saying that they haven't been able to locate witnesses, making that sort of very dramatic statement right at the beginning, saying that the police had looked. Well, actually, it started before that. Security in place. Yeah. So there was security there. Security guards stationed at the main entrance and within the court. Jay's family are there. Warren Slater was there being interviewed by the Channel 5 film crew. They talked about this being one of the last inquests of James Aidley. So this will be one he'll be talking about in his TV career, I suppose, in the future. The inquest started a little bit late. It was supposed to start at 10, but it didn't get going properly until 10:26, was it? Oh no. So it didn't start till 10 to 11. So it was late starting. And then, he came out with this dramatic statement. Lucy Law and Brad Hargreaves, Jay's friends who were with him in Tenerife, can't be located. He said, we can't find them. They have denied who they are. And now we have police looking for them, but we can't find them. So it started with a dramatic statement, didn't it? And really, it's continued as it started. His body was identified with a palm print. The pathologist said his cause of death was this traumatic head injury, consistent with a heavy fall from height, along with the other injuries he had. Said it was so severe he would have been rendered immediately unconscious. And even if he would have been found and taken to a specialist unit, he would probably not have survived anyway. So that's what they described his cause of death as. A severe fracture of the head, severe traumatic brain injury. He had drugs in his system, ecstasy, cocaine, metabolite, and alcohol. Probably took the drugs likely within a day or so of his death. Spanish authorities found more drugs, ketamine, probably because they did their autopsy first of all, earlier. Then they said that the Met Police were looking for Ayub Kazim to give evidence as a witness, but they haven't been able to find him. Don't know why Rocky's not being mentioned. Then it turned out, so they said Lucy is in Tenerife at the moment. And that's, police attempted to serve a witness summons on Lucy Law. But when? This, I do think, the thing is, this inquest was so short notice. So really, they've tried to serve her with a witness summons, but she's not there. Bradley Hargreaves is on holiday, which was booked already last October. Then they brought Josh in. He said Jay was off his head, but that he seemed dead happy. Josh said he himself had drank 10 to 15 vodka shots that night, and Jay asked him to break an ecstasy pill in half for him and Bradley. And then we come to this next dramatic thing, the watch theft. That Jay sent a message to Josh in which he said ended up getting thrown out with 2 Mali kids, just took an AP strap off somebody and was on the way to sell it. Then there was a dramatic break called as a contact who'd reportedly was reportedly been made with one of the witnesses who originally couldn't be contacted, but we don't know which one. Then Josh carried on talking, and he said about this weird thing that Jay supposedly had said, that he was going to sell the watch strap for 10 quid. And Josh claims this is slang for £10,000, not £10. Then he said that Jay sent him a picture showing knives down his trousers. He didn't tell the Spanish police, but he told the Lancashire police when he returned to the UK. And he says that the picture that Jay sent him of 2 knives down his trousers was captioned "in case it kicks off." And then we heard about the taxi plans, supposed taxi plans, that around 7:30 on the day he disappeared, he video called his friend Bradley, said he didn't have money for a taxi. Bradley said, "Just get a taxi here and then jump out and don't pay for it, or we'll pay." And Josh said that in this phone call, Jay sounded under the influence, but was not distressed or begging for help. And apparently, Jay sent the picture of those knives down his trousers to Josh 90 minutes before that phone call. And then, finally, it's saying that it's broken for lunch. So the evidence of Slang. So it's going to be dramatic after lunch, isn't it? Josh has been given an hour by the coroner to find evidence to show him that £10 or 10 quid is slang for £10,000. And Josh apparently said to the coroner, "Are you serious?" And the coroner said, "I'm absolutely serious. I want proof from somewhere. It's common usage. This is £10,000. And Josh has got an hour to back it up. So, yeah, the latest is the inquest is broken for lunch. This should have come up ages ago. Due to return at 1:30, which is in about half an hour. So I am sorry, I should have been sharing that as I was going up it, but never mind. I am going to have a break now. I need to have some lunch myself, rest my voice. I can see that so many people interested in this. There's a lot of you on, a lot of you watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Jay. I hope you'll come back for part 2. So we'll see. More drama to come. Thank you so much. I want to say a special thank you to Julie, who sent a super sticker. Thank you. And yeah, I'll be back later. See what other dramatic things happen. I may not be able to come back exactly as the inquest comes back. I've got a couple of classes that I've got to take. But anyway, I will be back with all the details. So thank you for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Please press the like button.